Hello and welcome to Off the Post podcast, episode 5, our last episode of the year. I'm Jack Conroy, and I'm joined by Noah Thomas once again to talk about the NHL hockey world, and it has been an energetic world lately with playoffs just starting, but we'll get to that in a bit. We want to go back to about 2 weeks ago when Tom Wilson stirred up a lot of controversy in the NHL world with what he committed in a Rangers game. Why don't you talk about what happened with this, Noah, and why there was some disagreement in the league?
Yeah, so a little timeline of what happened. So there was a puck that was frozen by the Capitals goalie. Pavel Buchnevich fell down in front of him, and that he tried to kick the goalie. So Tom Wilson punched him. It was kind of in the shoulder near the neck or the head. And then when Panarin saw that, he jumped on Tom Wilson's back, and Tom Wilson threw him down to the ice. Didn't have a helmet on, threw a couple punches, and then threw him down again. So people were freaking out over that, and then he was only fined $5,000. The Rangers didn't like that fine. They thought it should have been more. So they released a statement online, actually, which was pretty surprising. And then they fired John Davidson and Jeff Gorton, which was also kind of surprising because the rebuild, I think, has been going pretty good. But obviously they didn't make the playoffs this year. And then the next game, Tom Wilson played. There was a huge line brawl right off the opening faceoff, 3 fights. It was pretty entertaining. There ended up being 6 fights in the whole game and 100 penalty minutes in total in just the first period. And the Rangers got fined $250,000 for that statement afterwards.
Yeah, that was really weird to see. All throughout social media, people were making fun of the NHLPA, as they always do, telling them they're inconsistent. So every time there's a suspension handed out now, everyone's talking about, oh, what Wilson only got fined. I think Wilson probably should have got a suspension for that, but the NHL likes to serve the controversy. But I want to go back to that statement the Rangers made. It was really interesting to see how that statement was made, and then they fired their president and GM. And that, I mean, I don't know if there's any correlation there, but that was just odd to see so soon after. Like you're saying, yeah, the rebuild, obviously they haven't been making the playoffs, but it doesn't seem like it's going terrible. They were pretty close. But yeah, it was just an interesting situation. And yeah, they obviously got hit by that fine as well. But going into more money aspects of things, the ESPN and TNT deals are final. So ESPN got the package for 400 million, and TNT got it for 225 million. We kind of talked about our opinions on this deal, and we think it's probably good for the league. But I think the interesting part right now is what analysts they're going to carry over from like NBC right now. And it's kind of interesting how they're splitting it up. Like they're doing like the cup every other year. So ESPN will get a couple, and then TNT will get to broadcast the cup. And they're interesting deals for sure. Definitely an upgrade over NBC. I think TNT outbid NBC by a ton. I think NBC only offered 100 million. TNT offered 225 million. So have your opinions changed on these deals at all, Noah, or are you still kind of feeling the same way?
Yeah, they have changed a little bit. I think this is really good for hockey. Eddie Olczyk and Kenny Albert are going to be going to TNT. I know ESPN is trying to get some big analysts. They wanted Gretzky. So I think it's going to be a big change. I think it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, I would completely agree. I was kind of iffy, but I mean, they're paying a lot of money for it, so I think they're going to really show for it and try and really market the game in the ESPN world. And then let's go back into more COVID stuff. The U.S. actually has been doing pretty well with controlling COVID cases in the NHL, and they haven't been terrible as of late. But Canada was struggling for a bit. The Canucks whole team got, I don't know if we touched on this in the last one, it might have been a little later, but the Canucks whole team kind of got infected, and that was bad. They had to reschedule a ton of games, and they're still kind of playing them with playoffs going on, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, the NHL has relaxed protocols for players because players basically could go home, and that's a go home and then go to their practice facility and games. They couldn't really do anything. It was kind of like a bubble, but you could see your family. But so I think I don't know. You can fill me in on this. No, but they are saying that they are relaxing the protocols. I don't really know what that means, but it's probably good for the players because they've been stuck inside. If they can go somewhere else, it'd be probably nice. And then Canadian teams are also getting the vaccine. Canada is getting the vaccine now, and that is definitely good for the players over there. So, what are these relaxed protocols, Noah?
I'm not sure. I don't even think the NHL has said what they are, but I think it's kind of timely after Robin Leonard said that. I think 2 weeks ago that it was like living in jail, and then they say this. I think some players are frustrated with the way that the NHL has handled it. What Robin Leonard said, and then some of the Canucks thought that their games were scheduled too soon after they came back. But I think it's really good for the players that they're going to be able to go outside more.
Yeah, and that comes back. Robin Leonard has always been an advocate for mental health, and we don't know what these guys are going through. Like hockey guys, obviously, all they show is their toughness, but I'm sure a lot of this stuff is affecting these guys' mental health if they're just stuck inside and only can practice. And at least they can see their family, but it'd be nice if they can get out a little more. And yeah, COVID has just been terrible all around the world, and especially in the NHL. And it just it's good that it finally seems like probably next season will be pretty normal. Most guys will be vaxxed and will probably deal with minimal implications. And then let's get into some good news. The Seattle Kraken are officially a team. That's great for the city of Seattle, great for the game of hockey. We're up to 32 teams now. We had Vegas a couple of years ago. Now we have Seattle Kraken, but I'm not too excited for the expansion draft, and they're going to be stealing all our guys and stuff. But yeah, it is good that the Seattle Kraken are finally here, and now they can sign players. And I think they signed Jacob Hyman as their first player. So yeah, they're starting to make moves, and they're going to get introduced to this league and get involved this offseason with the expansion draft, the draft, free agency. So they'll be here, and they'll be here to stay.
Yeah, they're really taking their time on this, making the right decisions. And one player that I think they could get is PK Subban, actually. Hear me out on this. I think he's perfect to bring to a new hockey market. He's exciting, he's loud. And I definitely think they get some assets from New Jersey for taking on his contract.
Yeah, that is a good insight, and it will be super interesting to see the expansion draft. Obviously, it went so well for Vegas, but I've heard mixed things. I've heard Seattle is going to try to shoot really low on the cap and then just be a monster in free agency. But I don't think this year's free agency market is that good. So I would have him go for more people like Subban. Obviously, for the Flyers aspect, I want him to go for people with higher contracts, but it'll be interesting. A lot of the times teams can pay them basically with picks or prospects to take certain people. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I would assume they'll end up with like 3 first rounders or something. I think Vegas ended up with 3. So they'll get a ton of assets, and as a new team, they're going to need it. And it will also be interesting to see where they end up in the playoff aspects of things. Vegas obviously going to the Cup in their first year and haven't missed the playoffs yet. So I wonder what will happen with the Kraken, because I thought the Golden Knights might be terrible for a couple of years, but no, they've been a good team and a regular in the playoffs. Some people even think contender this year. So we'll see what happens with that. But I just wanted to touch on this quickly. We get a lot of rumors floating around the league all the time. But this Jack Eichel one is super, super interesting to me. Buffalo has just been terrible. They've been so bad. Um, and you look at guys like Taylor Hall, who played absolutely terrible in Buffalo. And then at the trade deadline, he goes to the Bruins and he starts lighting it up. There's clearly some issues going on in Buffalo um, with Jack Eichel. He is currently dealing with some back issues, which is actually really scary for hockey players, especially at his young age. But there's always rumors about him moving. Interesting to see what the package will be. I think if they'll move him, I don't know if they will, but it would be interesting if they did. So I just wanted to touch on this. Don't you think the package would be something huge, Noah? Like, I mean, you just got to send over so many assets. And who do you think some teams that could be in the market for this? And what's your opinion on this whole Buffalo situation?
I do think that something is probably going to be worked out this summer because his no trade clause doesn't kick in until next year. So they'll be able to look at a lot more teams. Um, I do think that there's some GMs that might be able to get a big pack or not give over as much because he doesn't want to be there. I think one possible team would be the Capitals. Evgeny Kuznetsov has kind of been not really listening to the COVID protocols. He's missed a lot of time. He tested positive for an illegal substance a little bit ago. So he's had some issues there. So maybe a trade there with some picks and maybe a prospect.
Yeah, I really feel like you are going to have to ship off a lot, especially with a young player like Eichel has such a high ceiling. But you take the reins here, Noah. Blackhawks end of the season. What was your opinion on this season?
I think they exceeded expectations. I know a lot of fans are upset again at Colleton and Bowman and the staff. But I think that's only because we saw what they were capable of doing. They were in a playoff spot and then they lost it, which I think is really good for this team. They lost their last game in Dallas in overtime. Colin Delia played great. Alex DeBrincat finished first in the team in goals with 31, which was third in the league. He really had a bounce back year. He's a superstar in this league. Patrick Kane had 66 points, another great year for him. But he had a little bit of an end of season drop off. He said in his exit interview that there was a little bit of an injury. He didn't really go into what it was. And then next season, I think they're in a really good position. They just signed another free agent goalie, so they can make the goalie matchup interesting for them. They have a lot of options. They want Jonathan Toews to come back. They've got Borgstrom hopefully coming in, Reichel. So their forward depth hopefully is going to be really good. Once everybody's healthy, they got Nylander coming back. But I think something that needs to improve is their defense. They let up 50 shots in their last game of the regular season. And you just can't win games doing that. A lot of their D guys are young, and a lot of people are blaming it on their system that they have. But I think if they improve their defense next year, maybe get a number one or number two D-man, they can definitely be a playoff team.
Yeah, they definitely exceeded expectations in my book. I thought they were going to commit to a full-on rebuild, especially with the big question mark, Jonathan Toews. What's going on there? I mean, if he was here this year, I mean, obviously he has whatever health reason going on. He can take all the time in the world to deal with that. But I just think maybe if he was here this year, they would have went to the playoffs. It could have been. It made it a whole lot interesting coming down the line because he might have given that extra juice, especially as a captain. He can lead a lot of these young guys. It'll be interesting to see if he comes back next year. But I mean, who knows? There's been no news about it. And yeah, they, like I said, exceeded expectations for sure. They're going to end up with most likely a middle of the road first round pick unless they win the lottery. But that seems to be okay. Like you said, probably just need to work on defense and they can, see where it goes. But it will be interesting. But it is a good sign for them to see DeBrincat having such a good year, especially when Kane he's getting old, man. But then let's talk about the game before we go into our playoff predictions. let's talk about some of the games that happened yesterday and on Saturday. So the first game was the Bruins and the Capitals, and I think that's going to be a pretty decent series for sure. The Capitals won that in overtime, and I think that we might see a 7-game series there. What do you think about these games, and how do you think these playoffs have started off so far? Noah, with all these highly energetic. We had 3 overtime games. What have you thought about these playoffs so far?
Yeah, I agree with you about the Bruins and the Capitals. I think it can go 7. It's going to be physical. It's going to be tough, and whoever makes it out of there is going to have a tough time. I think playing whoever wins Pittsburgh and New York. The Islanders actually won that game.
In overtime? Yep.
Yeah, another overtime game. I enjoyed the Vegas and Minnesota game. It was a 1-0 overtime game. So Minnesota, that's one of the teams that can beat Vegas. There's not many of them, but Minnesota likes that matchup, and Colorado ended up winning the division. So Minnesota, I think, gets a little lucky there.
They're kind of a sleeper, I feel like, though. The Wild, if they're gonna make a push, it's most likely if they beat the Golden Knights, which is gonna be tough in his own. Most likely they're gonna be going up against the Avalanche. So they got a tough road, but I do feel like they're a bit of a sleeper in this playoffs. Maybe they make some noise. And then the last game of yesterday, I hope all you guys watching watched this game, the Lightning Panthers. It was a great game. Super fast teams, both super fast, highly energetic game. We had some physicality in there, and it was a pretty high scoring game. The Panthers, the Lightning ended up pulling it off with like a minute 30 to go. Point got a breakaway and put it in. I think the final was 5-4. So that was a great game to watch. I love playoff hockey. Everyone does in this sport. It is so fun. And it's also great going back to the relaxed fan protocols. Vegas, I think, is like at pretty much either a little bit more than half capacity, or closer to full capacity. So yeah, a lot of these playoff teams are also expanding their allowance to fans. So that's also great to see. And these games are going to keep going to be great. And then let's get into the predictions here. No, yeah. So starting off, who do you think wins the north side of the playoffs?
The Maple Leafs are definitely going to beat the Canadiens. I think it's hard to find somebody that would disagree with that. I think it'll be 5 games. Maybe Carey Price will be able to steal one. But Montreal, they can beat Toronto. They've got some guys coming back off injury. And then I think Edmonton's going to beat Winnipeg, but Winnipeg can definitely beat them. We saw the Blackhawks do it to Edmonton last year. But I think McDavid's a different animal this year. I think he's going to be more motivated after that. I think that's both going to be 5-game series.
Yeah, that my predictions are Toronto in 6. Because I say that because I look at the way the Flyers played the Canadiens last year, and Toronto and the Flyers are very different and very on different paths now. But Montreal I feel like really gets energized, and Carey Price gets on his game. Like you said, he may steal 1. I think he may steal 2, but I do think the Maple Leafs will win that series. And then I do have Winnipeg because, McDavid is great. I think he's going to be crazy out there. Draisaitl, of course. But I do think Winnipeg will beat them just because, I don't know, Edmonton's goalie situation and their defense situation still isn't the strongest. And I think Winnipeg obviously has a chance. So I'm going to actually think that one goes to 7 as well. I think Winnipeg takes that in 7. And then let's get to the west side. Who do you got there, Noah?
The Colorado Avalanche are going to beat the St. Louis Blues. St. Louis has been on the upswing lately, though, but we saw it last year in the playoffs. They weren't really into it. I think they got beat by Vancouver and Colorado. I mean, if they can stay healthy, nobody can beat them except themselves.
Yeah.
The Colorado Avalanche are going to win this one probably in six. We'll see if Binnington can play good here. They need Torrey Krug to play good here too. And then Vegas, I think, is going to beat Minnesota. I think it'll go to 6 games as well. They're just so deep. I think they're one of the best teams in the league. They've got 2 goalies. They've got depth. They've got defense. I think they have everything.
Yeah, I have Colorado in 5, actually. I think this is Colorado's year, kind of. And then I do have Vegas in 6 as well. But I think Minnesota, maybe after winning that game 1, they get energized. But I do think Vegas will take that one. Now, how about the Central, Noah?
Carolina is definitely going to beat Nashville. I think they're a sleeper team this year. Not many people like Carolina for some reason, but they finished first in the division. Nashville had to fight to get their way in. And then Tampa versus Florida. This one's going to go to 7 games, no doubt. It's going to be physical. And I think the Florida Panthers are going to win it. The longer a series goes on, the better Joel Quenneville gets as a coach, the better teams get.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to watch the rest of the Lightning Panthers series. It is going to be so good. I mean, I basically have that at a lock at game 7. That just needs to go to 7. And I do actually have the Panthers. I want them to beat the Lightning. I want them to beat the defending champs. I mean, I have no problems with the Panthers. They haven't really done anything for a while. So it'd be nice for them to upset the defending champs like the Lightning. And I do also have Carolina in 4, actually. I think Carolina is going to sweep the series. That may be a little bold, but I think Carolina is going to sweep them. And then how about the East Division, Noah?
I think Pittsburgh, they didn't win game 1. I think they're going to end up winning the series. This one could go 6 or 7. Kyle Palmieri, ended up playing well in game 1. He didn't really do what they needed him to do in the regular season, but he's playing good now. I don't think New York has the offense if this series goes long to stay with Pittsburgh. And then I've doubted Boston all year, so I'm going to do it again. I think Washington's going to win this series. Another 7-game series, I think, and then maybe we'll see Washington, Pittsburgh again in the second round.
Yep, exactly. I think Washington, Boston goes 7, and it goes to Washington. And I think the Islanders, Penguins. I think the Islanders actually are going to take that in 6 games. I don't like the Penguins, as you probably know. I don't like any of those teams, actually, but the Penguins I probably hate the most. Crosby's great. But I did want to actually ask you this. I should have looked it up, but was Malkin out there yesterday? Did you watch that game at all? Is Malkin hurt? I don't know what was happening. I didn't see him on the ice yesterday. I'll get back to you, all you fans out there, with that, but I either completely missed him or he had a bad game, but I do think the Islanders will take that one in 6. And then how about the second round there? Or let's just skip to the who are your conference final picks? Who are your 4? Well, not really conference finals, whatever they're doing now. Your semifinal picks.
I have Vegas and Washington against Toronto and Florida. And then I had Vegas winning that series and Florida actually beating Toronto. And the Vegas Golden Knights, I think, are going to win the cup. They're really deep this year. This is the best team they've had. They didn't play the last few games of the regular season with a full roster. They can now, no salary cap. And I think they can definitely go far.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Washington, Carolina, Colorado, and Winnipeg. Actually, that is a bold prediction by me with Winnipeg, but I do think the Maple Leafs get a lot of hype. Toronto fans love to talk about them, but I do think Winnipeg can beat them because I feel like the Maple Leafs get in their head always in the second round or maybe even the first round. But I do think Winnipeg goes there, and then I think Colorado or whatever the matchups end up there. I don't know exactly what it is, but I do think the final will be like Colorado, Carolina, or something based on the seeding. I don't know exactly what it is, but I think it would end up to Colorado, Carolina in the final. And I do think Colorado will be Stanley Cup champions this year. I had them also last year, but I think this year they're even better. So I do think, but yeah, maybe Vegas makes a noise. I do really want to see an Avalanche Vegas second round. I think that will be one of the best series after the Lightning Florida one. But yeah, that would be great to see. But yeah, I think Colorado will be the Stanley Cup champions this year. And like you said, a lot of people think the Hurricanes are a sleeper team. Yeah, I think if Carolina whoops Nashville, and then I think they can beat Tampa Bay or Florida in a 7-game series for sure. That would also be a great series. That's the Central is going to be really interesting. And yeah, I think Carolina can also make the cut, but not get past Colorado. So you got anything else, Noah?
There's potential for a lot of great series here. Something I would love to see. I think everybody would. Toronto, John Tavares in the finals against the New York Islanders. How great would that be?
Oh, that'd be crazy. Oh my gosh, I hadn't even thought about that. Yeah, that would definitely be insane and bring back some old drama from when New York was pissed that he left. But if that's it, guys, thank you so much for sticking with our podcast throughout these months and throughout this NHL season. It has been a great season. And I think we're, like Noah said, in for a great playoffs, some great games and some series that are just going to be remembered forever. And I am very depressed the Philadelphia Flyers are not in this playoff format, but it will be good nonetheless. I know you guys don't care about the Flyers. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this Off the Post podcast. For Noah, for myself, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you guys later. Thank you.